I want to thank you for taking time to seek out and view this time of midweek reflection on the lectionary readings for this coming Sunday. And I'd like to suggest that we begin with this prayer. God of Jesus, may what seeks to take place in this time today contribute to our living the values of loving kindness, compassion, wellness, and justice in the places we go and the people we touch as we go about living out our lives this week. Amen. As a way of getting into the text for this week, and there's no way we can deal with all that is appointed for this Sunday, I want to begin by offering you a method, a technique that will not only lift your spirits, but will change your life. I'm not kidding. I'm not pulling your leg. I'm not exaggerating or speaking ministerially. Solid research has shown that having a meditation practice, especially the kind I'm going to suggest to you, has a physiological effect on the brain that causes those who practice it to be less depressed, less anxious, and less angry. Indeed, simply being cheerful and smiling releases endorphins and serotonin into the bloodstream that leads to a reduction in blood pressure. So I want to suggest that you pause 3 times a day and practice offering loving kindness and compassion, first of all to yourself and then to others. You begin with yourself and then in ever-enlarging circles to strangers and maybe even those you might consider your enemies. Now, this meditation practice goes like this. There's several versions of it, but this is the one I was taught. May I be filled with loving kindness and compassion. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. And may I be given the patience, the courage, the understanding, and the determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, hardships, and failures that come to me in life. Okay? So may you be filled with loving kindness and compassion. And may you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. And then you begin to offer that to your loved ones, to your strangers around you, your neighbors, and in ever-increasing circles of humanity, to everyone. You do this in the morning as part of your morning practice, and then do it in the middle of the day. Do it before retiring in the evening. Most everyone now has a cell phone or a smartwatch, so that we can easily set a reminder that will cause us to stop and take the brief few minutes it takes to do this. Now, though all of life is spiritual, we don't spend every waking moment thinking spiritual thoughts, and I'm not suggesting that you do. Although every moment of our existence depends on breathing, we likely take breathing for granted most of the time. One of the first teachings I got from Thich Nhat Hanh was about what he called the condition of the non-toothache. Not having a toothache doesn't get much attention until we get a toothache. It's when we have the condition of the toothache that we pay attention. So this practice is very in line with one understanding of the lectionary text for this coming Sunday. You see it especially in the gospel selection, which contains the familiar lines, "As you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you have done it unto me." Or as Eugene Peterson has it, "Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me." I want to read you the entire gospel passage for this Sunday from Peterson's translation, because I think it brings a freshness to it that's helpful. So here it is. "When he finally arrives, blazing in beauty and all his angels with him, the Son of Man will take his place on his glorious throne. Then all the nations will be arranged before him, and he will sort people out, much as a shepherd sorts out sheep and goats, putting sheep to his right and goats to his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Enter, you who are blessed by my Father. Take what's coming to you in this kingdom. It's been ready for you since the world's foundation. And here's why. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was homeless and you gave me a room. I was shivering and you gave me clothes. I was sick and you stopped to visit. I was in prison and you came to me. Then those sheep are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we ever see you sick or in prison and come to you? Then the king will say, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you did one of these things to someone overlooked or ignored, that was me. You did it to me. Then he will turn to the goats, the ones on his left, and say, Get out, worthless goats, you're good for nothing but the fires of hell. And why? Because I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes, sick and in prison and you never visited. Then those goats are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or shivering or sick or in prison and didn't help? And he will answer them, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you fail to do one of these things to someone who is being overlooked or ignored, that was me. You failed to do it to me. Then those goats will be herded to their eternal doom, but the sheep to their eternal reward. Now, if you check out the other readings for this Sunday, you will see the themes of compassion, the metaphor of sheep and goats and shepherd throughout. Now, of course, the writings we call the Bible, our foundational and identity documents, were written centuries ago using a worldview that are no longer ours. Their understanding of a God who would someday come and intervene to right injustices was something that Jesus himself did not teach. What is true about both the Hebrew scriptures and the prophetic voice that is to be found there, and it was this prophetic tradition in which Jesus firmly stood, with an emphasis on love of neighbor and compassion for those who were the victims of injustice. There's a saying found in the Gospel of Thomas where Jesus says, Love your brother and your sister as your very own being. Protect them as you would the pupil of your eye. That's pretty graphic. Further, it's a teaching we know, or think we do. We've heard it so often, we can respond, well, there's nothing for me here. I know this one. I'll tune out. And what further complicates our ability to embrace this teaching is that love your neighbor means make sure your neighbor receives justice. And that, too, we can easily dismiss. And frankly, it's not a popular topic. Richard Rohr says that if you want to guarantee you will have a poor turnout for an event, just call it a peace and justice conference. Talking about doing justice can make people feel judged. And none of us like to feel that who we are or how we behave is being called into question. That being said, there's no way for us to experience the wholeness we're seeking by being involved in something like we are right now if the prophetic voice is removed. Look back in history and see that where the self-critical element has been removed from a group or religion, that group or religion becomes self-serving and self-promoting. When the prophetic element is removed, it's not long until that group is circling the wagons and all sense of mission and message is lost. This seems to be the natural inclination of any institution. The dynamic becomes mostly, how can we maintain ourselves rather than what are we doing for others? And none of us is exempt from this universal pattern of having the capacity to fall into illusion and be mired up in the capacity for having a self-serving religion. Each of us can find clever ways to dishonor the teachings of Jesus and make his message really quite harmless. The teachings of Jesus are designed to disrupt business as usual. You can see why they killed him. He taught and teaches how easy it is to make things into absolutes that are not absolutes in the eyes of God. Now, I'm not only theologically trained, but also psychologically trained, and I understand the deep need for safety, for solid ground to stand on, for the certainty that absolutizing comes from. However, whether we like it or not, the only thing that is absolute is God, sacred mystery, and the love that sacred mystery is. As I said, what loving the neighbor means in this teaching is justice, but not justice in the way we normally think about justice. We think about justice as people getting what's coming to them. They've done something wrong, and by God, the score's got to be even somehow. But justice for Jesus was not about retribution. It was rather about distribution. Everyone was to be included and have a place at the table. This compassion is not a matter of self-will. This love, this compassion, comes from an experience with sacred mystery. It comes from praying ourselves into an awareness of being immersed in sacred mystery. Carl Jung said, "Tell me how you pray, and I will tell you the rest of your theology." So many of us pray as if God were not present. Praying and living as if God is present is something that we have to pick up every single day. The longest journey is the journey into sacred mystery, into our true identity. Let me say that another way. We become like the God we connect with. If we connect with some little tribal, punitive, toxic God, not only do we not grow up, but also we end up living in fear and pretense and being part of groups that so live. And the only way out of this is to have a daily spiritual practice. That's why I began today the way I did, a spiritual practice. Contemplation, meditation, prayer, religious rituals are way more than just believing doctrines or being a member of a church. We enter into a life with God, and God's way of dealing with us becomes our way of dealing with life and others. We eventually love others as we have allowed God to love us. And this is what changes the world. Everything that happens in a religion that's wise and useful ought to contribute to this self-understanding. Who you are is who you are in God. No more, no less. This allows us to see the world and our brothers and our sisters who share this planet with us in a different way. May I be filled with loving kindness and compassion. Because if there's no abiding place for love in me and in you, we can't release love into the world. Now, if you think you're hearing a bit of a mixed message from me, you're correct. We allow God to love us by opening ourselves to loving others. And we love others by allowing God to love us. If we are merciful, forgiving, generous, inclusive, then we've likely met the God of Jesus. If we are narrow, stingy, and fearful, then we're worshiping something other than the God of Jesus. The purpose of religion is to lead us beyond ourselves to union with the sacred. Truly spiritual people don't seek doctrinal rightness. They seek God. May our brothers and sisters be filled with loving kindness and compassion, and be well and be peaceful and be at ease. And may we contribute to that. In the name of the Redeemer, the Life Giver, Amen.